Welcome to Julie Whitney Scott Presents Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God production sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1, the Green Renaissance Station. Let's talk theater. Well, as usual, I'm just thrilled and excited to have my friend Kurt with me today on Let's Talk Theater. Kurt, first off, look at you, how good you look. Let's just start with that.
You are making me blush. Yeah, somehow I guess I'm the one person who lost weight in COVID. I mean, basically, I'm the one guy who like shed all those 40 pounds stuck in the house. I don't know how I did it, but now that I am, I'm like, I have people come up going, "Yeah, you look great." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool."
You look really good, Kurt. And you know what you're showing us out there is, hey guys, just because we're not active right now doesn't mean that we just have to lay around and, we can still keep our health up. So it's so good to see you. I want you to, for those people out there that don't know Kurt, I want you to start off with just telling us about you, who you are, how did you get in the entertainment world? You've done so many things, and just take us on a little journey, a Kurt journey of how did you started to decide you want to be in the entertainment world, which also has led you to your now award-winning role of lighting director. And talk to us about that journey.
But first of all, you're making me blush. I'm like, it's like being trapped in COVID for so long. You don't get compliments. So basically, it's like now I've got like 2 in like 5 minutes. I'm loving it. I mean, I'm handsome, and I go, yeah, I did win some awards, but well, I guess, I mean, I hate to admit it, I started out as a geeky kid. I mean, I grew up, I'm an late 70s, 80s kid. I grew up listening to all the hit stuff that's out there. And basically the things that were big, fortunately, were stuff like Grease and Annie and all kinds of fun musical stuff. So I always had this musical thing inside of me. I always wanted to be part of musicals, wanted to be part of acting, be part of theater, just be part of entertainment in general. And I even, with my love of music, I ended up like wanting to kind of do DJing. So I ended up like going to high school at Fort Hays of all things, and went to the radio and TV program and did some time there, and actually got my degree, and tripped and stumbled into the nightclub industry, and ended up like working in bars DJing. And by doing that, I was able to parlay it into a career in radio. But during that whole time, like working the clubs and stuff, which goes back to the lighting design, is I always admired the people who came in and did these incredible light shows. I'm like, how do you do these like incredible things with light? I mean, just the idea that light can be such a driving force on top of everything. So even when I was doing the radio and doing the DJ stuff, I was also interested in like the artistic side of things. So I guess with me, the weird thing is with what coming up, like I said, with late 70s and 80s, with all those great musicals and all that stuff that was out there, and being shown stuff at Fort Hays, like the acting side of things, across the hall from us, the acting theater. It just gave me this whole idea that there's so many things to the arts that it's like a big fruit basket to grab from that I just love to get into. It's and then basically from radio and DJing, I made the decision to go back to college like right around 2015, and I was going to go for a business degree. But of course, you know how sometimes in life passions take you someplace where you don't want them to take you, or they probably don't financially take you. And I took one theater course with Frank Barnhart at Columbus State Community College, and it was just intro to theater. And I go, well, I back in the day there was a guy, John Mahoney. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's from Frasier. He's the guy who played Frasier's dad. And I always read that he didn't get into acting or serious acting until he was in his 40s or 50s. Well, I went to college, and I'm like, well, I told myself, all my life, even when I was doing DJing, doing all stuff, I said, I will try acting one time just because, something you want to put on the bucket list. So out of that intro to the theater course, I took an acting course, and the acting course introduced me to 2 or 3 more acting courses, and then I ended up doing some plays for Columbus State doing lighting design. And when I was time to just declare my major at Ohio State after Columbus State, I go, well, I'm having so much fun lighting design, I thought I'd go to theater. And basically through that, I wound up meeting you guys and everybody knew through the Columbus theater scene. And 5 years later, here I am just out and about doing lights for everyone. So yeah, it's a really long journey. I was trying to encapsulate it really quickly.
Well, that's good because, the show, Let's Talk Theater, is about the journey. And
Yeah.
of course, we only have so much time on radio, as you know. So
Yeah.
thank you.
That was the one thing. I have some friends who are currently still furloughed from radio, and I saw the writing on the wall in 2007. Unless you were doing production, program director, or doing anything major inside the offices, your time in radio for DJs is pretty. Yeah, you're right. Unless you're doing what you're doing, is pretty well. We're kind of getting to the end of like the big heyday of DJs.
Mm-hmm. Kurt, not only are you now very much involved in the lighting design for the theater, many theater companies you've worked with here in Columbus, Ohio, including Mind for God Productions. And I want you to talk to us. Oh, and also, you've also used your musical background as to help with some sound tech work and design. So not only are you working with theater companies to help them get beautiful lighting designs for their sets and their productions, but you've also helped companies with the sound portion of it. And so talk to us about that. What are the challenges of first off, I want to say this. It's good that you talked about how you decided, even though you spent all these years as in music as a DJ and a radio host, that you went ahead and said, I want to do something else, and took that chance. Because a lot of us, you get a certain age and we feel like, well, that ship has sailed. And a lot of people don't do things that they really want to do because they feel like they're too old to do it, and it's past. So you really took what I'd say is a bold move, to take a chance and jump out there, and have been rewarded, for doing that, in a positive way. Talk to us about that. How does that feel? And in working with these companies, how have you grown, just in this time, this short span that some people have worked years for and not achieved?
Oh, that's actually real. Well, I mean, also it also goes back to going back to college, which was a huge step, going back to college after 40. And a lot of us, we basically you get complacent. I mean, you do something the same thing for 20 years, and you just like, oh, this is how it is. And you don't realize till you take that first step and jump that when you make those changes, for one, it's scary. It's really scary. And every time you're doing change like that, especially the older you get, there's always some cognitive dissonance where you're like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm still growing. So by going back to school at that age, at such a late age, one thing I did is I was able to enjoy learning this stuff. I was actually soaking everything in. I still do. I go home at night. I read really geeky theological books or something that I would never read before college. And that just opened my mind to all these new things that were out there. Add to that the fact that I was into theater and seeing that there's all these different points of view out there, that there's all different, like your company, Mind for God, I mean, the Black Theater Festival, doing I was going to work for Evolution this year, doing all these different companies, working with people that you normally wouldn't see if you stay in that insular, basically, this is what I've done for 20 years. You don't get to go out there and experience it. You don't get that whole richness out there. And that to me has been the biggest enjoyment of it, even though it's scary. It's still scary some days because basically I watch my friends who are sitting in cubicles all these years doing well. They got kids. They have the things that we're supposed to have, but they're not happy with their job. They're not happy with this. And they're still doing a lot. It's not on any fault of their own, but they also seem to have some same worldviews they had back 20 years ago because you never step out of your comfort zone. And by me doing that, going to college, being a non-traditional student, so I was hanging around a bunch of kids, I mean, in Columbus State, I got to meet a whole different people from all different walks of life, different generational, different languages, different cultures. And then going to OSU and meeting people from different backgrounds, and then add on top of that the introspection and the stuff that theater does, the points, all huge points of view that theater brings across. It's made me just so grateful for like the fact that all those days that it felt uncomfortable, that it hurt, that I didn't, I don't like doing this. I don't feel like this is me. And then you turn around and look back and you see how much you've grown from all those experiences and all the stuff you've learned from people in community and in theater in Columbus. And it's just huge. I mean, it's one of those things where I do not take it for granted anymore. I used to like think, oh, I'm just going to go put lights up in the theater. Who cares? And I'm going to enjoy doing the work. But I forgot about the human side of it, where I'm meeting all different kinds of people that I would not meet on a normal basis, and we're all doing things that are just incredible.
What do you think is one of the most difficult things for when you're looking at a script? Take us through the process, Kurt. Take us through the process of somebody calls you, say, hey, Kurt, I'm getting ready to produce this play. I want you to help with the lighting design. Now what? Take us through it. Because there's somebody out there that's interested and want to do what you're doing.
Well, in that case, I'll take back the thing where I said drink heavily when you first hear that people want to maybe do like a big major. Don't drink heavily. Do some meditation, do some yoga first, and then don't panic. Because again, sometimes people throw you stuff that's like, oh my, you want to do what, where we're going to put this? It's not going to work that way. Basically what I do though is I will obviously start from the beginning, get the script, read it at least once or twice, take notes. Usually, sometimes it doesn't happen, but usually you do have a picture of the set and stuff, so you have to like kind of visualize where you're going to put stuff, or they'll give you the venue. And you got to know like that's the hardest part. Just starting is when people say we're doing it at we're doing it at Bob's Auditorium. You don't know what Bob's Auditorium's ever been in because you never worked there. The scary part is having to go out and figure out, well, what are the capabilities of the place? What can you do utilizing what they have there? What do we have to do? Who do we have to call? And then I go back to the script, because when you read the script, you got ideas, but I try not to like go crazy with the ideas, just because I never know. Sometimes I don't know what the venue can do. Once you know a venue, this is a total process. Yeah, so you basically read the script and you figure things like that. Like, do I know the venue? Do I know what kind of stuff they have there? Obviously, then you get back with the director. There's tons of meetings. Good productions have at least really good, not many meetings, but enough meetings to get things done and get things planned ahead, so we all get on the same page. But as soon as you read the script, get those ideas and jot them down, you go to the production meeting with your mind. You got to be open-minded, because in this business, the idea you had may not be the best idea for the work. So you get in those meetings, you start talking to people, start talking to the director, and you whittle away the ideas that you had and they had, and you come together on an idea and a plan. And then you just go about basically. I usually try to make sure I find out the tech side of things after that 100%, and then I'll go through and write a cue list ahead of time. You always write a cue list ahead of time. If you can do some visualization software, which they teach in college, for the people who are not in this industry, or the kids who are watching this who want to be in this, there are some great pieces of software out there like Vectorworks, Lightright, even I believe it's it's Elation Capture. They bought Capture from company, and SketchUp. All these great software out there that you can basically use, where you can, when you have the budget, and the way we're taught at Ohio State is basically you go ahead and you pre-visualization everything you can do, and then bring that back to the table, then go ahead and write the cues on it. I'm sorry if I'm backtracking here, because I started with my process, but I should also like put in there is a proper process where if you can't get pre-visualization software, do it, and they're really easy to learn. They're not really easy, but once you put some time into it. So if you get the right tools together, then you just go in and basically you build the cues, work on the space, make sure you have everything in the right place, and then go into tech week and build your cues that you've already thought about ahead of time. And I'll be honest, one thing I learned with theater is a lot of times the ideas you have on those cues aren't going to work. But the best thing about theater is collaborative, and you learn, oh, well, yeah, that didn't work, but the director's idea is so much better than mine. And this is for people who are trying to get into theater where they say you have to have a thick skin. It's not so much a thick skin for things like this. It's just an open-mindedness to say, I'm not the one in charge. It's not all about me. And once you do that, you work with the director, you get some incredible work out of it. That's my best productions have been working with people who push me to my border, outside my way of thinking, and also are really see things I don't see, even though I try, and I drop my defense to going, and then I go, oh, you know what, they're right on this one. And those are the ones where it just like I go look back on it and go, that's just incredible what we did. It's no longer like what I did; it's what we did. That's the joy. That's one of the joys of theater. It's what we all did.
Yes,
So,
that is exactly one of the joys. That's
yeah.
one of the great joys of theater.
Oh yeah.
Is working with, because we become a family, for the time that we're doing that production. We're a family, and that's why it's always so bittersweet. At the last performance is so bittersweet because it's like, oh, it's ended.
Oh yeah, we're all
it's
done.
gone. So
Yeah.
and theater's not like a movie, because we'll just pop that movie back in and keep looking at it. Once that live run is over, and then it's on to the next one if you're lucky. If you're lucky.
The good thing about that though is it teaches, because that's one thing that I found late in life with, like, I kind of joked about the meditation thing, but I did actually, coming from the bars and doing that stuff, not to get too zen on you, but it does, that aspect of it teaches you to be present in the moment and enjoy right here, right now, because this is all we have. And when you get wrapped up outside of this space, it's easy not to. But theater does teach you that basically this is what we have, and not fear the moment, enjoy the moment.
That's the first time I've ever heard that put like that. See, that's why I like this show, Let's Talk Theater, because we're really talking about the heart of it. Why are we doing this? Why do we want to be a part of this world? Well, Kurt, from everything that you were saying, it sounds to me like your background in being a DJ, did that help you with transitioning into working on the light boards and stuff? Or are there any similarities to that, or no?
Well, actually, I mean, believe it or not, the nightclub DJ side of things, yes, it did kind of help me with the lighting stuff, because back in the day, well, when I first started, I worked for some very this please forgive me for saying this, Julie. I'm not trying to crack at anybody. I'm not name calling anybody. I used to work for some bar owners who would not invest money in lights. So basically, we would have to do with what we had, and I'd have to find a way to take a light show that may be 20 years old and make it look like it was like up against the brand new lighting shows. So definitely in theater, this as well as I do, being able to do the best with what you have at any given moment, and sometimes have to think outside the box and how you're going to wire it, how you're going to make it work, is actually one of the best tools you can have in your toolbox, because things don't always go as planned.
And that's one of the key things with live theater. Things don't go as planned. And I think that's what makes it fun, because if you can go every night to a performance, and every night is going to be something different, because every night there's going to be something. A line they didn't say that line yesterday, or that light didn't, where that sound cue come from? It's like, so if you go, because it's live,
Yeah.
and because it's live, I love that phrase you use. It's in the moment.
There's nothing you just enjoy, and if you have a mistake, the best thing about it, because you have to when you're acting, is basically you got to run with it and
keep going.
You gotta yeah, so you can run with it and hate the moment, which I did when I was acting for a while there, and then I haven't acted since then. But now that I got this new mentality, just enjoy it. We messed up. Okay, well, how are we gonna get out of this? And you got to enjoy that part. Enjoy the moment and realize that's what you do.
Yeah. When I'm directing or teaching acting, that's one of the things I make sure I try to stress to them is that the audience does not know you made a mistake unless you show them you made a mistake. So
Mhm.
if you're out there and you made a mistake, just keep going with it because the audience doesn't know it. And even if they do know it, if they were there yesterday, they probably a parent or something. And they know this is live theater,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know because
Sure.
if they weren't there the day before, you see what I'm saying? They
Oh
don't know
yeah.
you messed that line up if they don't know
And
the script. So and it's the same thing with lighting, I guess. Hey, if you forgot to put the red screen light up, now,
well,
but it may, however, for example, when you did my the verdict is death, or is it? Doing that crucifixion scene, the red scene, the red that you used to signify, the blood was important.
oh yeah, yeah. That
And
was
if it
huge.
had been, so if I'm glad. Let's talk about that because see, there is a difference between if I'm an actor and I make a mistake, I keep pushing forward. Nobody really knows it. But if I'm a lighting director and it's supposed to be at the rise of
Oh,
sunset and it starts off in the pitch black, that's
which
difficult.
which I be honest, I've had many tech weeks where things changed and went by my notes and basically there have been tech rehearsals where it's been night when it's supposed to be daylight. That's why we have tech week. So it's kind of like that does, but however, when you say do, there are times where people take cues wrong at the wrong time, where people play the cues wrong. And I don't want to get because I don't purposely I try not to do my own shows anymore because I'm so used to DJing. I used to do lights in on one hand and mix on the other. So I'm used to like hitting buttons a lot, which doesn't help in theater. So I try not to run my own shows. So sometimes, because I always mess up because I press the button so much, I'm like, oh, it's got. So I can't get mad at people who make mistakes, but sometimes if the person takes the cue too early, there's a lot of times in shows where we isolate just a section for the actor, just this side for effect. I mean, they basically, I can't remember. I think it was Frank. Somewhere I heard this. But basically, they say the lighting designer works the same way a camera works in a movie. We shift your focus to where you want it to be. That lighting is basically the camera edits in theater. So if you have Bobby standing out here for one scene, um, but suddenly you hit the cue and the light's over here because you hit the cue the wrong way, Bobby's going to try to act. He can't walk across over here during the show. So sometimes that gets kind of scary, but you learn to embrace the mistakes and basically just make the best thing about that is all good lighting boards have a back button. You hit the back button, it's done, and the audience forgets. But sometimes it can be hairy when you're watching it. I've had shows where I've gone and watched them, and like the lighting designer, that person running the board up, pressed one of my cues too early, and I'm like sitting there going, no, 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 you can see the actor. It wasn't a choice, and they always get it back. It just happens.
Oh well.
Yeah, it's that's what he's got to find his light. some
What can
actors,
you do?
some actors are a moths, and some actors the anti-moth.
Mm. What, Kurt? What is the most challenge for for you? It's musicals, a drama, because there's so much going on with musicals and stuff versus um a one set
And
drama.
actually,
Or is there any difference? Does it matter?
to be honest, yeah, musicals do just because of sheer volume of cues. And sometimes with musicals, you're kind of you're beholden to this picture that people have of the Broadway production or the one that the great production they saw, the touring company. And unfortunately, I mean, please, I'm not. When I say this, it's kind of just stating it's not a fact, but it's kind of a fact. We don't have the budget in Columbus theater community for most of our place to have those kind of lights they have. So you're stuck using equipment that isn't designed to do the job the Broadway shows did. So sometimes yeah, you're stuck like yeah, musicals. That's one aspect of it, but also just the sheer volume of cues. Because I mean, and I don't mind it. It just sometimes it just takes a lot of time. to do, she moves over here to here, and then they go here, and then you got to pink over here. And sometimes it's hard for me and with the director, even with the director sometimes, because they don't know, we neither one of us really know what we exactly want. You don't want something to change. And it's just hard. You try to do something original every time you do that. Every time like something happens, and I always sometimes overstress myself and make musicals too complicated when I'm planning them, and I always have to scale them back down because I always feel like you have to do extra effect. So musicals by far just always give me the most not anxiety because it's just a lot of pressure. There's a lot of a play. You've got like 4 people out there on stage, maybe 5, sometimes, but there's not a lot happening. With the musical, you've got 20 up to 20 people dancing, moving around, set pieces going everywhere.
And then you also with musicals, you have a director, a choreographer, a musical director, and so it's even bigger. How has it been for you, Kurt, with this, with what people are having to do now with the virtual theater?
Well, I mean, virtual theater actually has been it's been a challenge, but actually I've done about 4 virtual shows now. So actually, that's not a big deal for lighting design. I did Madlab's Young Writers Festival, and I've done 2 monologues here at Red Herring and 3 productions. Yeah, Grounded. Reason to Vote and Jekyll and Hyde. So that's actually been fun. But when it first happened, especially Godspell, that broke my heart. Godspell broke my heart. We had just had a show that opened up at Gallery. We had She Loves Me, and it probably not try to toot my own horn, but because everybody worked, Kat Wexler and I and Pamela Hill, we put a lot into it, and it was, again, I don't want to say egotistical, but like sometimes I always amaze myself. I'm like, wow, we did that, and it was like a beautiful show, and it was so well acted, and it got, I always say this wrong, I think 3 performances, and then it was shut down that week. Then I found out about Godspell after that weekend, and it was a long, hard process over the summer. I have not. There's been many companies that I was supposed to work with this year that are dark, and it's painful because, for one, obviously me and there's several of us out there, believe it or not, that this is our livelihood. We're obviously not looking, we don't have work. But also just the need to create. I mean, there's people who have had some great shows, or just once you get in this mode where you're creating all the time, you kind of need that as a release. It kind of helps you through things. And not having that with COVID, I think me a bit, but a lot of people I know, it's really hurting them because that's usually their release. So it's just the whole COVID thing just been kind of hard on me, just because the loss of income and just the loss of being able to help people do these things. I mean, there's so many great shows that are gone. We'll get them back, but it doesn't make it any easier in the moment. And there are, like, you're definitely, I mean, you're one of my friends. I love to death. I mean, basically, there are plenty of people in the Columbus theater community that I've met that are like that. We've had these kind of relationships too, where we just kind of basically we get to working together. We not just like do the job, we learn from each other. And that's half the fun, is basically I'm like, I didn't know that, because I think most people think, which I guess is kind of true, there's a lot of imposter syndrome out in the theater community, where basically it's like, I shouldn't be here. And then you realize talking to people, like there's other people better than me. You realize by talking to people, like, no, we all think that we just all like, we'll just learn from each other and have fun. Basically, that's what we do.
And we always have fun. Oh. And that's number one. Fun.
Yeah.
There's
not a show. As soon as I see you're on a show, I know my sides are going to be hurting after spending 5 minutes with you, because we're just going to laugh. And I don't know. I'll be honest, it's so stupid, the stuff we laugh at. It's so silly that I don't even remember what we laughed about. I just know we laugh.
We just laugh and have fun. So yeah, and so I can't wait, just like you can't wait, and that when we can get over this COVID and we can come together as we all theater people like to do, and hug.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that drives me crazy.
Kiss, and and just be so happy to see each other, and love on each other, and
oh totally.
Yeah. So Yeah, I missed that, but it's coming back, Kurt.
It's
You
that's the
know,
one I
you
was
didn't
driving
really
around
see.
yesterday, and I basically I made it my goal yesterday or Sunday. I put on some Broadway shows. I put myself, because of COVID and everything else is going out there. I had to put myself in a headspace where I was. I got what was I thinking like last year, where there was hope for there's gonna be shows, or there's gonna be other things happening, and I did that, and I got for a moment there, my because your brain you make your brain recalls memories, and basically you can feel that moment for a second. So I
Yeah.
all those little feelings are basically like it's coming back, and I just imagine what it's gonna be like when it comes back. It's gonna be fun. It just we got to get
and
through
and
it.
and, and it's going to come back full force, and we all are going to be coming back with new things that we have learned, new techniques, and that we have learned, and the show must go on,
And
and it's going on right now through virtual means and whatnot, and it's going to continue.
yeah,
Well, one of the things that I like for my guests to do is to give a word of encouragement, that for you to give a word of encouragement to anybody out there about anything you want to give them in regards to theater and their dreams and meeting them.
basically, because the one thing that got me is since I did not do this until later in life, I was always worried about like keeping up the cool image and stuff like that. Just do it. Just go out and do it. If you're young, do it. You really, real theater really gets you and makes you feel good. Just do it. Basically, don't waste time. Get out there and do it because as soon as you start doing it, the quicker you do it, the quicker you're gonna get a chance to enjoy it. The quicker you're gonna get a chance to take that ride. So I mean, yeah, that's the only thing I can really say is don't spend time doubting. Just go out there and do it if you really feel you got it. And I know they say don't have a plan B, but if you try theater, even if you try theater, don't try theater. I mean, you don't try theater professionally and something happens. Have a plan B for livelihood. But if you try theater just for fun, to meet people and to get that reward of being on stage, and you don't like it, the worst thing is you don't do it again. But if you do like it, you can just keep doing it. Theater's one of the things you also can do even when you have a job. So it's like basically you can still keep doing theater. So my word of encouragement is basically just get out there. If you want to do it, do it. Don't wait 20 years. Don't wait 30 years because we don't have much time.
That's a good word, Kurt. Good word. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to spend some time with you, even if it's virtually. Here's my virtual hug.
My virtual hug right back at you. I miss you.
I miss you too, Kurt. Thank you so much for being a part of Julie Whitney Scott Presents.
I loved it.